Hello everybody, my name's Annie Everall and I'm Director of Authors Aloud UK, who have helped organise this event with our lovely Cathy. So welcome to children, young people, to parents, teachers and librarians. And of course it is a pleasure to be welcoming Cathy today, who is just awesome. Just some housekeeping information. Your mics and cameras will be are switched off and they'll stay that way for safeguarding reasons. It will give you a better viewing experience if you've got your screen in gallery view, and if you that means you'll see Cathy in her glory. So if you haven't, go up to the top of your screen and you should see it will give you the choice between speaker view or gallery view. Click on gallery view. It's very, very strange actually talking to you all but not being able to see you, I know we're going to have a great time today. There will be time for you to ask Cathy questions via the question and answer tab at the end, and at the end we will also give you details of how you can order specially signed and dedicated copies of the book from our wonderful bookseller H&H Spalding if you want to, and they will be posted to you once Cathy's had the chance to sign them for you. For those of you who haven't already caught on with this, the event is part of a wonderful day of activities for children and families, all celebrating reading together. That magical time when parents and grandparents with their children, sisters with their brothers, and even mums and dads with each other can share their favourite books and stories and read together. Cathy's event is such an exciting event for us because it's a book launch. It's the launch for her of Forever Phoenix. I know she'll talk a little bit about that, but they normally happen in London with a small group of people. But because of lockdown, thanks to Cathy and her fab publisher Penguin Random House, we've been able to hold an online launch, which means all you Cathy Cassidy fans have been able to join me and Cathy in the launch. This is the second Authors Aloud event of the day. This one, as I say, is in partnership with Penguin Random House, Cathy's publisher, and with ASCL, the Association of Senior Children's and Education Librarians. So let me introduce you to Cathy. And you will see that I'm wearing my special Forever Phoenix dress to match the colour of Cathy's new book. You probably know as much about Cathy as I do, but she's one of the UK's top-selling children's authors. She's twice won the prestigious Queen of Teen Award, which recognised brilliance in young adult and teen fiction, and was voted for by teen readers. Cathy tours extensively around the UK, meeting over 10,000 young readers each year, and I know that because I'm the lucky person that gets to organise those tours and sometimes go with her. Before becoming a writer, she was an art teacher, a magazine editor, an agony aunt, and she worked at Shout magazine and at Jackie magazine. She's written many brilliant books for children, including The Broken Heart Club, Looking Glass Girl, which is her modern retelling of the Alice in Wonderland story and is one of my personal favourites, the fabulous Chocolate Box Girls series, and now the Lost and Found series. So we're here today to celebrate and launch her new book in the Lost and Found series, Forever Phoenix, which as well as is actually published today. So you're all getting to hear about this before anybody else does, which I think is really exciting. So let me at that point hand over to Cathy so she can tell us all about it and about how she gets her ideas and writes her books. So welcome, Cathy.
Oh, thank you, Annie. Hello, and thank you. And hello to all of you, to friends, to readers from all around the UK, from Ireland, from India, from Australia, New Zealand. Thank you so much if you have taken the trouble to tune in from a whole different time zone. That is just so amazing. And I know there are some of my French readers here as well. I think somebody in chat said that Amanda is here. So hi Amanda and Iliana. I have to kind of say bonjour et toutes mes lectrices françaises, bienvenue. So yeah, that's my terrible French bit over, but welcome all of you to the fabulous book launch of Forever Phoenix. I'll show you, I actually have 2 copies of the book. One's in paperback, one's in hardback. Thanks to lovely lockdown, both versions of the book are published at once, which is cool. So if you prefer a paperback, you can buy that one or borrow that one. If you prefer a hardback, that's also cool. And Annie was saying it is quite hard. Normally a book launch, in the last few years, I would normally be perhaps at a book festival, perhaps at a big school event, in a theatre, something like that, doing an event to celebrate the launch of the book. And in the first few years, when I was very first published, I used to have a proper book launch party, which would take place in my favourite cafe in Castle Douglas. It was called Designs, and when I used to live in Galloway, and I used to be an art teacher, as you've heard, we'd invite all the kids that I taught art to, all our friends, everybody, anyone else who happened to want to come, and we'd have just a really, really cool party. And, you know, it's lockdown. We're kind of easing really gently out of the lockdown, but it's not a picnic, and it's hard to kind of work out how things work these days. So I thought, let's kind of do an event, but also a bit of a party. So yeah, I have my cakes, and there's one for me and there's one for you, because somebody's got to share this at the party. And I have my lovely drink. It's a smoothie, a berry smoothie in a fancy glass. So I hope you guys have got something nice as well. Yeah, so I think this little book launch, it could be really cool. I've even got fairy lights up and around, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the first 3 books in the Lost and Found series, because Forever Phoenix is it's published today, but it is actually the 4th and final book in a series. And this is what the rest of the series looks like. It's Love from Lexi is the first, Sammy's Silver Lining the second, Sasha's Secret is the third one. I'm just going to pop those there out of the way. The series really, it's about a bunch of young teenagers in a secondary school who accidentally get together and form a band. And you might think, how do you accidentally form a band? But you would probably have to read Love from Lexi for that to make sense to you. But lots of light moments, and also some very sort of, you know, emotional moments in the stories. And Lexi is the character who tells the first story. She is a girl who loves to rescue things. And then Sammy, who tells the story in Sammy's Silver Lining, he's actually a Syrian refugee boy who's made the terrible, dangerous journey from war-torn Syria all the way across to safety to relatives in the UK. And he is an awesome, awesome character. I love his story too. And Sasha tells Sasha's Secret, that third story. She is the lead singer with the band, but she has a huge secret and an awful lot of anxiety that kind of ties into that secret. So yeah, there is though one more character who is so important, really pivotal in the whole series, who is important in all 3 of those books. I mentioned that Lexi is a rescuer. And one of her very first rescues is actually this character. I'm going to have to just duck out of the camera for a moment, because I want to introduce you to Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley is the tortoise character. Okay, she used to belong to a friend of my daughter's, and every time Jan would go away on holiday or work away or whatever, Mary Shelley would come to stay with my daughter. She'd look after Mary. Oh, look, she's waving. She is a little bit of a prima donna. She does like it when she gets to meet her readers and her admirers. But yeah, after a while, Jam Jam and his wife partner had their first baby, and it turned out that that's not ideal if you've got a tortoise roaming around the place. So Mary Shelley at that point became my daughter's tortoise, and I'd already put her into the story, into the series. She became the character Mary Shelley, the tortoise, in the Lost and Found series. And she's important all the way through in Lexi's story, in Sammy's story, and also in Sasha's story too. But I'm gonna put her down now and let her wander about. If you hear any strange scrabbling noises during this Zoom, it's Mary just wandering around my writing room. She likes to do that. So there she is, off into the wild. But yeah, it's that's one example of how an inspiration or an idea for a character can happen, because soon after my daughter took custody of Mary, my daughter then went to live in Cornwall on a boat. So Mary's come to live with us, and she's been with us for quite a while, and that's really cool. She often sits on my feet when I'm writing, which is fab. So at the end of Sasha's story, for those people who have been following the series all the way through, a new character appears. At the end of that story, you see a taxi draws up and a girl gets out carrying a strange cat basket type contraption. And a lot of readers messaged me and said, could that be Phoenix? Is that who the next book is going to be about? And those readers are absolutely right. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to show you one of my notebooks. This is a lovely French notebook that one of my French publisher actually made for me. And I would advise anybody who loves writing to have a notebook. I actually have a huge pile of them. And these are just the ones that I'm using at the moment. I always have several on the go at once. Little ones, big ones, have one you can put in your bag. This one used to be by my bedside. And when I'm writing, I like to make sure there is a pencil and a notebook just by my bed, because sometimes right in the middle of the night, you wake up and you think, oh, that's what happens. And actually in here, I know you can't really see it, but this little bit here, it reads, if I had to choose one word to describe her, it would be trouble, but the exciting kind of trouble, the kind you would open the door to, invite right in. And that literally, those two lines came to me in the middle of the night, along with all sorts of other stuff in here. And they describe the character of Phoenix, who obviously is the most important character and the narrator in the new book, Forever Phoenix. So yeah, and just because I've mentioned that this is part of a series, and it's actually the final book in the series, I just want to mention before I go any further, each book works as a standalone as well. So even if you've not read the other books in the series, Forever Phoenix will still make absolute sense. It will work for you. So don't panic about that. So because if I was doing a big kind of theatre or book festival event, or even in a big school setting, I would normally be standing on a stage with a great big PowerPoint screen behind me, and there would be all sorts of images on that PowerPoint. And I don't have the option really to do that, or the technology, the technological know-how, because yeah, it's me, I'm not, Miss Tech. So I thought it was a really good chance to show you how I work on a book, and show you the actual things that I use, because when I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation to kids or to whatever, a book festival, I have a big series of slides that I'll say, this is a PowerPoint version of the pin boards that I use at home when I'm writing about my new book, my new characters. And I don't actually have to do that today, because I have one of the real pin boards just behind me. I've propped it up behind me. So you actually can see what's on there. And what I do have a couple of pin boards at home, and I will cover them with bits and pieces while I'm working. that help me to step into the shoes of the character I'm writing about and step into the world of their story, if that makes sense. So if I kind of squidge around a little bit, I can maybe show you some of the things on this notice board that are relevant to the story. So one of the things is a drawing. If I move that slightly away, you can see a drawing of a magpie. This is Pie, the magpie, and Pie is actually the main animal character in this book, because Mary Shelley is actually hibernating throughout this story pretty much. But she belongs to Phoenix, the main, or Pie rather, belongs to Phoenix, as much as a magpie can ever belong to anybody, I guess. So there was a whole thread of magpie inspiration, and I think that came from, back in the house where we used to live, we moved house at Christmas, but in our old back garden, there used to be a tree with a huge magpie's nest in it. So for years, we lived alongside magpies, and they were very cool. I got used to them. I mean, a lot of people are quite superstitious about magpies, and I suppose I was brought up to be a little bit superstitious about them too. And I will salute a single magpie if I happen to see one, because why, you know, it's supposed to be good luck to do that. You're meant to inquire about the health of the magpie's family, and yeah, why not? As long as you do it quietly in your head, nobody's going to know. So I also really love the rhyme, you know, one for sorrow, two for joy, and that fascinated me. And I thought there might be ways of working these little magpie themes into the story. So linking to the magpie theme, as well as my sketch of Pie, we've also got a lovely painting that one of my best friends, Sheena, made of me pegging my washing out with loads of magpies sitting on the line, and you know, a little bit of a magpie salute there, and feathers. But sadly, the only feather I could find since moving here, when we don't have magpies in the garden here, so it's not a magpie's feather, but anyway, it's still a feather, and feathers are important in the story. So what else? What about the character of Phoenix? That's this character here. The very first bit of inspiration for Phoenix was actually the name. And again, it kind of came back to my daughter, who had a good friend called Phoenix. And I thought the name was amazing because it brings all sorts of, I don't know, images and ideas with it. This whole rising from the ashes thing that phoenixes do, and also suggested to me quite a fiery kind of character, which I really liked. So Phoenix, as you can maybe see from my drawing, she is quite a striking girl. She's got long, auburn, wavy hair, probably the dream hair that I always fantasized about whenever I was growing up. And Phoenix is also, she has a hot temper, a quick temper, and she's a little bit lost. She often finds herself in deep trouble, although that's not intentional. She doesn't mean it, it just kind of happens to her. And I think a lot of us probably could identify with that. Phoenix has quite low self-esteem, and also that might be something a few of us have battled with at times. Phoenix has got an amazing voice, but she doesn't think so. She thinks the opposite, because sadly somebody in her life has told her repeatedly that nah, she can't sing, and that's actually not true. So she's on a journey through this book to learn to believe in herself. And then we've got another character here, and that character is Lee. And anybody who has read the rest of the series will know that Lee is the guy who plays the trumpet. He is quite a fidgety, fun kind of guy, but can be irritating, but is also quite cool. And he wears a battered trilby hat. And I don't know if you can see, but in the very corner of the notice board, there is the trilby hat that was left behind by my daughter's boyfriend when he visited at Christmas, complete with feather. And yeah, I was just writing the final bits of the story at that point, so the trilby hat had to go into the book. So you can see all kinds of influences coming from all over. And if I can take it off, a little ear cuff, which It kind of goes, it's one of those things that'll hook over your ear. And I've worn this to festivals and weddings and parties. I really, really love it. And I thought that in the story, Phoenix should have a feathered ear cuff like that, and she does. And Sasha in the story makes her a beautiful phoenix one, so very, very cool. There's also a little tiny bracelet there, you probably can't see too well. My granddad made that for me when I was a baby out of old-fashioned threepenny bits that he'd saved, and it's something I've never been able to wear because he died when I was still a baby. So my wrist has never fitted that since that first time that it was made. But in the story, Phoenix has a bracelet and her mum has a necklace, and those things with a little phoenix on are so important to them and to the story. And a couple of other things. I've got a lovely drawing from one of my readers, Blue. There is a fantastic dream catcher from a reader called Holly, who made this for me a while ago. These things remind me of why I'm doing this, why I'm writing. It's for you guys. And just behind me in the corner, there is a little horseshoe painted, and that's to bring me good luck, because who doesn't need good luck when writing a novel? So, how does a pinboard full of ideas and inspirations turn itself into a book? Yeah, I know that if you're at school, you're probably taught to, you know, plan your stories on paper, profile your characters, all of that. Plotting things out is brilliant, but that's not how I do things anymore. I don't plan on paper apart from the random kind of jottings that maybe will make it into those notebooks that I showed you. What I do, I will pull together those ideas, those inspirations, any research that I've had to do for the story, and I allow them all to kind of unfurl in daydream form. And if you do get really, really good at the whole daydreaming thing, it's as though you've got a movie running through your mind and you're the only person who can see it. And better still, you're kind of the director. You get to call the shots and decide what actually happens. So that's quite cool. And if you're lucky, that daydream can turn into a story. So I'll dream a little bit and write a little bit and dream and write. And that is my #1 tip for young writers. Call it creative visualization if you like. Teachers tend to prefer that to the daydreaming thing. Daydreaming did get me into a lot of trouble when I was at school, but I do it for a living these days. So who can say it's a bad thing? I think it's cool. And for me as well, drawing my characters does bring them to life, and doing the whole pinboard thing helps me step into their world. I think this is the point where I am going to read you a little bit from the story. And the beginning of Forever Phoenix, there's a little intro forward, which I'm going to read, and then chapter 1. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I have never read this before to anybody, only published today, you know, not even in half the shops, I don't think, probably because of lockdown. So yeah, this is special for me, and I hope you're going to enjoy it too. And it's Phoenix telling the story. If you've ever been to boarding school, you'll know that you're never alone. I have a room to myself, a narrow bed right next to an old sash window that rattles in the breeze. But 10 girls share this corridor. There is always, always someone around, except when there isn't. School is shut for the October break, and I am the only one here. We're not allowed to light candles, but there's nobody to tell on me, so I light a short, stubby candle that smells of vanilla and unwrap a slice of chocolate brownie bought from the village earlier. A high wind outside makes the autumn leaves trees dance, but there is no mistaking the sharp rap on the glass. I'm on the first floor, but I am pretty sure it's Pie, the tame magpie I rescued back in the spring, calling to see if I'm in need of company. I pull up the window and Pie flies in on a gust of wind that makes the candle flame gutter. He hops onto my shoulder. The girls I share a dorm with are not here now, so I can have my candle and my chocolate brownie and leave the windows open with the curtains fluttering. I break off some brownie for Pie and leave him scoffing it. while I head to the communal kitchen to plunder the hot chocolate stash. I'm singing my heart out as I come back into my dorm room with a mug of steaming hot chocolate, but the song dies on my lips. Bright, leaping flames are racing up the curtains, and black smoke is billowing from the cushions stacked up on my bed beneath. There is no sign of pie, just a few brownie crumbs on the windowsill. I run to the shared bathroom, shove a bath towel in the sink, and turn on the tap with shaking hands. Smoke fills my throat as I swat at the curtains, but all that does is fan the flames and knock something off the windowsill and down into the flower beds below. The towel catches fire and I run back to the bathroom to get another. But when I turn, the blaze has reached the corridor. Smoke blurs my eyes and fills my lungs, and I scream and scream and scream. So that's the intro bit. Next bit is magpie rhyme. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret, never to be told. And chapter 1, which is called Smoke Damage. Let me get one thing straight. I did not burn down the school. For one thing, it was clearly an accident, and for another, it wasn't actually the school, just one of the dorms. And it wasn't razed to the ground, more smoke damage really, although the roof has gone, I admit, and quite a bit off the top floor. Almost every single thing I owned has gone, apart from the clothes I'm standing in, but at least nobody was hurt because of it being October half term and everything. Pretty much everyone was at home with their families or off on trips to Europe, and I raised the alarm. I wouldn't have done that if I'd been seriously trying to burn the place down, would I? Think about it. I am not an arsonist. I'm all about saving the world, not setting it on fire. But even now, the smoke has died down and the blaze is out. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody is listening. It took 2 fire engines to get the fire under control in the end. I'd been trying to douse the flames myself with the hose pipe attached to the old greenhouse, but I couldn't get the water to reach high enough, and the firefighters pulled me out of the way. So after that, I just watched. Okay, I might have taken a couple of pictures on my iPhone, but be honest, wouldn't you have too? Turns out the police thought that was highly suspicious. I don't suppose they know many 14-year-old girls because everybody I know catalogues their life in pictures. It's what we do these days. A paramedic checks me over and tells me I'm a very lucky girl. And instead of arguing, I take a deep breath and nod. No burns, no significant smoke inhalation, just a pall of toxic fumes following me wherever I go, clinging to my hair, my skin, my clothes. The building is cordoned off and a firefighter tells me that little, if anything, will be worth salvaging. I feel like it's my life they're talking about. The police swoop on me again once I've been given a clean bill of health. What's your name? A weary police officer asks, and when I say it's Phoenix, he frowns and asks if I'm joking. I've probably gone straight to the top of his list of possible suspects because there I am, right in front of them, rising from the ashes. That's what a phoenix does, right? I didn't ask to be called Phoenix, but I try my best to live up to the name. Doomed forever to spring back from the ruins of whatever my last disaster happened to be. I didn't ask to be hanging around the charred remains of my former dorm at 4:30 in the morning either, with my slipper socks soaked by the hose pipe and great big flakes of ash in my hair. I didn't ask to be a boarder at Bellevale Ladies College in the first place, for that matter. But when you're 14 years old and your mum is a career-obsessed control freak and your dad lives in Dubai with his new wife and kids, well, you don't actually have much choice about where you live. Was there anybody else in the building? The police officer wants to know now. Were you alone when the fire started? Just me, I tell him. Well, me and Pie. Pie? The policeman barks. Just you and what? I roll my eyes. Pie is a magpie, I say. He was in the dorm earlier, but scarpered long before the flames took hold. I hope he's okay. The policeman loses interest after that. He says it's a school matter as far as he's concerned. There is no evidence of arson. That is not as hopeful as it sounds, because the head teacher is not my #1 fan. As I turn away from the ruins, I spot something glinting in an overgrown flower bed in the moonlight. I take a look, and there it is, the battered old Quality Street tin I keep my old diaries and secret treasures in. It was on the windowsill last night, beside the open window. That's what I must have accidentally knocked out into the darkness when I'd panicked, trying to put the flames out with a wet bath towel. I've lost my laptop, my books, my clothes, my shoes, my future. But I have my past at least, squished into that old tin. I hold it close, not sure if I want to laugh or cry. Eventually, I'm hauled into Miss Winter's office, bleary-eyed from lack of sleep and still smelling of smoke, like a kipper or a pot of badly stewed Lapsang souchong tea. I am still clutching the Quality Street tin as if it might save me from drowning. She frowns at me, pressing her mouth into a thin line. "Phoenix," she says, "I know the two of us don't always see eye to eye. I know you're going through a difficult phase. I know you're feeling angry." A difficult phase? All my attempts at holding things together dissolve into sudden fury. "I hate it here," I snap. "You know that. But I did not burn down the dorm, okay? It was an accident." Miss Winter's face darkens. If I didn't know better, I'd think she was angry, but somehow her Ice Queen persona wins out. She is not called Miss Winter for nothing. "Well," she says, "I certainly hope that it was. Your time here at Belvale Ladies College has not been as happy as we might have wished." "No kidding," I say. "This latest incident is most unfortunate," she continues. "You've made it clear you do not want to be here. I've tried my best to be patient." "Have you?" I say. "Can't say I've noticed." "What's in the tin?" she asks, frowning. "The dorm burns down and you say a tin of sweets?" That hits me right in the heart. Does she know nothing about me? "Not sweets, memories," I say through gritted teeth. "You wouldn't understand." "I don't suppose I would," she admits. "I've tried my best for you, but no, I don't understand. I think, Phoenix, we've come to the end of the line." Miss Winter's long fingers fiddle with the silver necklace she always wears. It's something she does when she's particularly stressed or angry, and I've seen it a lot these last few years. I can tell she hates this as much as I do. She's not the kind of woman who likes to admit defeat. She has failed with me, though, and I can't help smiling a little at that. "I've spoken to your grandmother," Miss Winter says. "She agrees with me that things at Belvale have not worked out. You can't go to your father in Dubai. He said something about the timing being difficult. But your grandmother has agreed to take you. I'd ask you to pack your bags, but there wouldn't be much to pack. And the building's cordoned off until the health and safety people have been, so don't even think about it, Phoenix." My shoulders slump. It's not that I had a lot to lose, but what I did have is gone, almost every last bit of it. Miss Winter peers at her computer, clicks and prints out a couple of sheets of A4. "I've booked you a train," she says briskly. "I'd drive you to the station, but I'm expecting the insurers to call, and of course there will be parents to talk to once the news of what's happened gets out. We can only hope the press don't get hold of it, but either way I'll need to stay here to handle things. A taxi will be here to collect you at 11. You can pick up your tickets with this code, and there's cash in the envelope for snacks and a taxi at the other end. It's not ideal, obviously." "You want me to leave right now?" I interrupt. "Immediately? Smelling of smoke with ash in my hair?" "I'll find you a change of clothes," she says grudgingly. "You can pop into the gym and have a wash and brush up." I blink, unable to take it all in. "What is this?" I whisper, numb with shock. "Have I been expelled?" Miss Winter has the grace to look shifty. "No need to call it that," she says. "That wouldn't look good for the school, and it wouldn't look good for you. Things haven't worked out. Let's leave it at that. We're all agreed this is the best solution." "Are we?" I challenge. "Phoenix, you've left me no choice." The phone starts ringing on her desk and I can see her hand reach out to take it, then pull back again. She is not going to risk speaking to insurance assessors or concerned parents until I am safely off the premises. Well, fine. I square my shoulders and tilt my chin and walk to the door. I pretend I'm brave and tough and confident, that I'm wearing platform biker boots instead of soggy slipper socks. I pretend I'm calm and cool about it all, that the sting of tears in my eyes is just a reaction to the acrid, smoky stink that clings to my clothes. I pretend I don't care, and when I reach the doorway, I turn and glare at Miss Winter. Thanks, Mum, I say to her. Thanks a bunch. I slam the door. So there we go. That was kind of a big dramatic twist in the end of that chapter. And shortly after this chapter, Phoenix arrives in the town of Milford and joins up with the rest of the band. And you can read more about her adventures in this story. So I think that's enough from me. Maybe now it's time for some of you to ask some of your questions. And
yep.
Annie's going to help me do that. So yeah.
Before we do, one of the messages that's come through in the chat, we have a special, a child here with a special day today because it's her birthday. And so could you wish Keely Humphreys a happy 11th birthday, Cathy?
Oh, Keely, happy birthday. This cake's for you. I wish it had a candle. I'm going to have to eat it for you, but it's still yours. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think what we might do is, I think Keely's at a school, so if her teacher could stay behind at the end of the session, we can talk further about that, see if we can find a nice surprise for Keely. Okay, so some of the questions that has come in, Maria in Donegal, she asks, how do you keep focused right to the end when you're writing a book?
Okay, my confession here is I don't always keep focused right until the end. I usually start off full of enthusiasm, determination, and absolute obsession with the story and the characters, and I'll steam through the first part of the book, and somewhere, I'd say probably about 2/3, just between half and 2/3 the way through the story, I often start to doubt myself and I begin to think, oh, maybe this isn't working, maybe this isn't right. Oh, and at that point, almost anything can distract me. And I often get to the point where I'd really like to pick up my laptop and throw it out of the nearest window. And many times, I'm not joking, many times my husband or my kids would kind of creep up to me and go, Mum, it's going to be okay. Don't do that. It'll be okay. It always is. And because I know that this is a phase I go through, this big moment of doubt, I usually do manage to resist destroying whatever I've done. But that moment of doubt, I think for me, it's part of the process. So if you have a strong idea in the first place, try and keep motoring along with that as often as you know, for as long as you can. Keep that focus. But nobody is superhuman and the focus doesn't always stay forever. Sometimes you just have to get tough with yourself and keep going, even if you think that what you're doing is not working, even if you think it's rubbish, because you know what, once you've got it written down, you can go back and fix it. You know, you can kind of pull almost anything together. But if you give up and walk away from it, nah, that's not going to work. So I think determination and being able to keep going even when you don't think that you can, that matters an awful lot, and that goes for all creative endeavors, I think, not just writing.
Okay, then we've got one from, I think it's Lena. Where does your passion for writing come from?
Oh, $64,000 question. I wish I knew. But I can tell you absolutely, you know, totally honestly, ever since I can remember, I have wanted to make, or I have been making up stories in my head. For me, it started with whole daydreams, you know, and I'd be sitting in my maths class. Sorry about this, teachers, don't listen. Cover your ears, teachers. and dreaming up a story of something that would take me away, and you know, into a different sort of world. And that's, you know, what books do for us, that's what stories do for us. So as soon as I could you know, be able to write those things down, I could share them with my teachers. And then eventually, as a teenager, I wanted to share them further afield. I began sending stories to magazines. I don't know where that has come from. I didn't have parents who were writers, not at all, you know. Ordinary, everyday, working class family. No, you know, nobody had written before in that, you know, in our family. It's not something you can kind of put a finger on, but I know when I meet another writer, even if that other writer might be 9 years old or 12 years old or 15 years old, because they say exactly the same. They say, I can't help it, I just have to write. I'm always doing this, I'm always writing, you know. And it's if you really want to write, you don't just do what your teacher tells you to do in a literacy or an English lesson. You write because there's stuff that you want to get out there and you can't help it. So daydream it, visualize it, imagine it, and then write it down. But yeah, if anyone else has any clue where it comes from, please tell me, because I'd love to know.
Well, we've got an interesting question here from Ella. She says, if you could bring any one of your characters to life, which one would you pick? And do you think they would be your friend? Oh,
do you know, they are all real to me. This is the weirdest thing. But when you're an author, you know, you hear those characters speaking in your mind. Their lives in your imagination are very, very real. So in some ways, they're already real to me. There are so many of them that I would love to meet in real life. I'd love to meet Phoenix and tell her that she's awesome, because she kind of doesn't quite understand that at the beginning of the story. She's just an angry, lost girl, but she will get there. But yeah, it could be my favorite character of all of my books, Mouse, the character who first appeared in Dizzy and then was in Lucky Star. It could be Scarlet, the real firebrand from the book of the same name. It could be, you know, can I cheat? Can I say the whole of the Chocolate Box Girls cast, you know, the whole family, the Tanbury Costello family, a kind of big blended family. I'd love them to be real, and I'd love to just rock up at their house on the edge of a cliff in Somerset and visit, because I think they have the best and coolest of times. But yeah, all of them.
Okay. Anushka asks, what are your opinions on diversity in young adult novels?
I think it's really, really important that we write stuff and publish stuff that reflects what is around us. But I also think that this is the most important thing, I think, is that we enable young writers from different ethnic backgrounds to actually have a fair voice, you know, to have a fair platform to share their stories. So, you know, I like to write about people from every kind of culture, every kind of background, every kind of interest, because I find people so interesting anyway. And I'm just trying to reflect what I see and what is out there. But I think it's only really in very recent years that we're starting to see an improvement in hearing the voices of some of those people. I think it's a journey for all of us to take, and publishers are taking it seriously now, I think, and I think that's brilliant. So you know, because I can only really write as me, and I'm obviously, you know, a middle-aged white woman of Irish UK kind of background, so I can say what I see and what I feel, and, you know, etc. But I want there has to be a range, because look at the world that we're living in, the most amazing, awesome, and sometimes scary world. But let's hear all the voices. It has to be that way, I think. Good question.
Someone who's no name, why did you decide to set the Lost and Found series in the Midlands?
Because I grew up in the Midlands. I grew up in a city called Coventry, and Coventry libraries kind of made me into a passionate reader, and also helped me to be a writer these days, because I think if you read widely while you're growing up, then you know, you're learning all the time, and it really helped. It showed me those books were like a ladder to a future that I would never have imagined without the libraries of Coventry. But there's something about the Midlands, you know, I don't live in the Midlands anymore, but I wanted this whole story to be set in a town. It's not a big city, but maybe, you know, a small city or a large town. And I invented the name. I called it Milford, but in a way, in my imagination, it was a bit like Leamington Spa. I don't know if anybody knows Leamington, place where we used to go for nice days out when I was a child. So yeah, I don't know, the whole Midlands thing is very familiar to me, and it was a bit of a love letter to an imaginary Midlands town.
Brilliant. Imogen asks, do you ever give up on a book if you don't like it?
I haven't exactly, but I did do quite a scary thing with one book, Fortune Cookie. And this kind of goes back to another question that we had earlier, where someone said, do you ever, you know, get that big wobble of moment where you lose focus? And it was a book it was Fortune Cookie was the book, and I was writing it. It's the last book in the Chocolate Box Girls series. And I was writing it in the run up to Christmas. And then between Christmas and New Year, I stopped writing for obvious reasons. You know, you're celebrating, you've got people staying, you've got family there and all of that. And I went back to it probably on about the 2nd of January and read through it to see where I was. And I just looked at it and yeah, I had lost focus. I looked at it and thought, I just can't bear this. It's not working. And I pressed delete. It's the only time I've ever done such a rash and very, let's just admit it, frankly ridiculous and stupid thing, but I did, and it had gone. So I had to start again, and of course my deadline was the 31st of January. So, you know, I drank an awful lot of black coffee, and I didn't sleep very much for the whole of January. But in a way, that instinct was right, and the book that I deleted, I think I was probably about that 2/3 of the way through. It wasn't enough, it wasn't right, it wasn't good enough. So starting again was actually the right call. And the whole book, I had so much more passion for it and so much more focus, partly driven by fear, but you know, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And it was so, you know, I think it was a far, far better book for doing that. But then, you know, I was a bit of a human wreckage by the end of January. And I then had to go on tour in February for a week. I got home from the book tour, and then I got really, really ill. So, you know, sometimes it's just like, yeah, don't do what I did, you know, but I found that eating lots of chocolate and drinking lots of black coffee did help.
And Zuleika, who likes to write stories, says, what are some really good writing tips for a new writer?
I actually have, if you message me, you can message me through the email Cathy link on my website, cathycassidy.com. And I can send you a link for a little YouTube video that I made with lots of tips for young writers. But I would definitely say, write about what you really care about, because it's definitely going to show. Write from the heart as well, you know, write, you know, with passion. And read widely too. And that sounds crazy. Don't ever be scared of writing in the style of a favourite author, because that's not copying, that's actually absorbing all the things that they do well and all the things that they have to show you. And then you know, your taste may change, you may move on to someone else, and that author may also have lessons to teach you. And you can do this. It's like painlessly learning and painlessly you know, being inspired by somebody and absorbing all the lessons they've to teach you. And then you will find your own voice, but you know, you'll have benefited from all that, you know, reading that you've done along the way.
Olivia asks, how do you figure out where to start when you're writing a book?
That's a really good question, and actually that's the only bit that is often easy for me. If I'm ever doing workshops in schools, and goodness knows when those days will ever come back again, I'm not sure if they will, but you know, if we're doing a writing workshop, I'll always talk to the kids about where do you start your story, because for me, personal choice, there is nothing duller than reading you know, the first page of a book where, you know, the author's telling you everything about the character, from the colour of their eyes, the amount of freckles across their cheeks, the, you know, I don't know what colour shoelaces they're wearing and what they had for breakfast that day, because I've usually fallen asleep by the time I get to the end of the description. I want a story that pulls me in straight away. It might come from, as you know, as you mentioned earlier, Annie, I used to be the fiction editor on Jackie magazine. From a magazine background, you're taught that you need to hook the reader in quickly and not let go of them, because there are so many other calls on our time. I mean, I don't want anybody to put one of my books down and go and wander off to do the washing up or play an Xbox game or something. So you've got to grab their attention. So I always start with something dramatic. So in Forever Phoenix, it's burning the school down. Can't really get a lot more dramatic than that. But I like to jump in when something interesting and exciting is happening, because that, I think, works for me. And you get all of the lovely descriptive stuff as well, but you get that along the way. So there's another good piece of advice or good saying for would-be writers, and that is show, don't tell. So jump in at an exciting bit and hopefully you'll grab the attention of your reader. That was a good question.
And Kevin says, do you have a specific audience in mind when you write? For instance, what you would have liked to have read as a child, or an ideal reader?
I suppose at the beginning, I wasn't so sure. The very first book I wrote, it was Dizzy, and I was writing it for me. It was an idea I had, a story I wanted to write, and I was trying to prove to myself that I could write a book, because I never had before. And I didn't really think, I never thought that anybody would publish it, never thought that anyone would read it. But of course, it did get published and people did read it and people loved it, and a lot of people then began to communicate with me, because we live in the age of the internet. I'd get handwritten letters, I'd get emails, I'd get messages, and this has only got more and more so over the years. You'll get messages on Instagram, on the Facebook fan page, on YouTube. All of those things really matter to me. So these days I am very aware of who my readers are, and my readers could range, in anything from 8 or 9 years old right up to 80 or 90 years old. And I'm not kidding you on that. Because a lot of kids grow up with the books and hang on to them. I know there are a couple of people here today who will fall into the older age group, or kids who've grown up with the books and still love them. And new readers too. So I think my ideal reader is somebody with a big heart, who cares about stuff and cares about people. And there is no age limit on that, is there? But if you care about people and friendship and family, and the power of love and friendship, then I think that's who I'm writing for. Because that's there aren't any dragons, there aren't any, there's no big war things, there's no spies, there's nothing like that. It's about feelings. That's what I love, that's what matters to me. And so that's my reader, I think.
Brilliant. Well, I'm conscious of the time, so two quick comments really before I bring this event to a close. One is from Scarlett, who says she can't believe it's been 4 years since Blue Water and the Broken Heart Club. She was always your chocolate fairy. And the other one is from Ali, who says she'd really recommend parents to read these books. You were kind enough to record some YouTube readings of Love from Lexi and Scarlett over lockdown. And as you know, she listened in earnest every day while doing her housework or walking her dog. And it was such a marvellous opportunity to escape into a story. Phoenix sounds wonderful. She's going to be ordering a copy and retreating to read it as soon as possible. So I think that sums up people's responses to your stories, Cathy. So sadly, that brings our event to a close. And so a few thank yous. Thanks to Cathy's publisher, Penguin Random House, and to the Association of Senior Children's and Education Librarians and Libraries Connected for their support for this event. A huge thanks to all of you for joining us, because this event wouldn't be the same without you there, even though we can't see you. and especially huge thank you to Cathy for such a great event this afternoon. As we said, this is publication date, and this is the launch for Forever Phoenix. So wherever you are, and we can't see you or hear you, but you can. So let's give a great big clap and a congratulations cheer for Cathy and her brilliant books. Yay!
Oh, Annie, thank you so much. Thanks to you and to lovely Bev, who's been working away behind the scenes, and everybody who's made this possible. And if you did want to ask your question today, you can email me via the Email Cathy link on cathycassidy.com, or join me on Facebook fan page or Instagram or the YouTube channels. I'd love to hear how you get on with Forever Phoenix, and thank you so much for being here with me today. I was so nervous, but I've had the best fun.
It's been great.
Awesome.
So everybody enjoy the rest of the day. Keep reading together, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
And the summer reading challenge is kicking off about now. It's Silly Squad is the theme, but it's a great incentive to get reading.
Yeah. So enjoy reading. Bye everybody. And